시작할까요? One, three. Hi, we are 투모로우바이투게더. First of all, we would like to welcome all of you to 투모로우바이투게더 showcase star in your star. We can't thank you enough. So it's our first time to meet our Chicago fans. So I think.
So we are at the airport in Chicago getting ready to leave, but I just wanted to like kind of do a review of what happened last night, or like our whole TXT showcase experience. So we went to see Tumorowobaitugedo, and people were lining up for wristbands. So we had high touch. We had P1 high touch, and so people were lining up for wristbands. Like, we got there around, what time was Tyra? What time was that? Like 10:30, 11? When we got there to line up for wristbands. So it was almost 11 when we got there, and we didn't even have to wait that long before they started handing out wristbands. But like we were around the corner, and we ended up being 125, 126. It did not look like it was like that. It didn't look like it was that many people in front of us, but I guess it was. And so there had been people who had been there since like 7 a.m. that we had talked to anyways, that had been there since 7 a.m. So we were 125, 126, and after they gave out the wristbands, you could leave and come back, and then like when it was closer to showtime, and then they were going to use that your wristband to like say your place, and then that would be the number you would be like get in. So I would be the 125th person to get in. So we left, we took a nap, we came back closer to showtime, and everybody was already lined up. And then when it was like cold, so like a little before doors were supposed to open at 7, but they opened before then, and I think it was because it was cold. But then they started like, we're all lining, and the line starts moving, and then all of a sudden the dude is like, there's 3 lines, yelling at us that there's 3 lines. So they want us to go from a single file line to these 3 lines. So I guess like the people in front of us didn't realize it right away or whatever, but we ended up moving over, and so we ended up getting like really close to the stage, even though we were supposed to be like the 125th person in. We definitely weren't the 125th person. We got in before a bunch of the people who were in front of us because of the fact that they broke out into 3 lines, and then we had got in line with people who, ended up right close to the stage, but we ended up behind people who had been there since 7, who had lined up at 7 just to be like some of the first ones to get in. So the show, like during the show started basically on time. It may have been like a few minutes after 8, I think. And the whole time the fans were pretty chill for the most part, except for like there were some who were like really, really yelling. And it was like, okay, we get that you're hyped, but like save some of the energy for the actual show, because we got in early. So we got in before 7 o'clock, and the show wasn't started till 8. So we had to be there for over an hour. And you're like already yelling in our ear or whatever. So then once the showcase actually started and TXT came out, or Tumorowobaitugedo, like the girls behind us, there was a specific girl behind us who literally was like grabbing on my shoulder, grabbing on her shoulder, grabbing on Tyara's shoulder, and that's my friend Tyra. They were grabbing on her shoulder. She was grabbing on my shoulders, and she was literally using us to jump up and down. And then like, it was just so disrespectful because we didn't even know her. We hadn't talked. There was like girls who were in front of us who we had talked to before the show. We had not talked to this girl at all, so it wasn't even like like we had all of a sudden become acquaintances and stuff like that, where she should have felt comfortable enough talking to, jumping on us like that. But she literally was using me and jumping, and she was like the same height as me, literally. Actually, she might have been a little bit taller than me because I ended up wearing like boots with the heel on it, so I could see a little better since it was general admission. So, but like with my shoes on, we were like the same height, and she was literally like using me to jump, and it was just so irritating to me. And so I guess like she realized she couldn't do that anymore. Like I maybe she realized that I wasn't as good as help. My shoulders weren't as good as help as she needed. So then she ended up moving next to me. She tried to push, but I was like no, because everybody else in our corner, like during the beginning of the show, was like fine. Nobody was pushing. So everybody in our like area, because we were kind of in the corner of the stage or whatever. Everybody in our area was like fine. We weren't pushing each other or nothing like that. It was like everybody was chilling. We had all been like talking to each other before, like when we were just waiting for that like hour and a half almost. And so we were fine, and then here she comes trying to push. So I wouldn't let her push me. I was like, standing my ground. So then she pushed her way further into the crowd or whatever, and I was like, fine, good riddance. Or whatever, because I didn't want to deal with it, and I know nobody else wanted to deal with it. But then, like, these girls who were, like, at the back. Okay, so there were these girls who were with this guy, and this guy was, like, one of the tallest audience members in the whole entire building, basically, the whole general admission. He tried to come. He was like, before the show started, he was like, excuse me, like trying to push his way through or whatever like that. And we're like, excuse you. And he was like, my friend's short, she can't see. Okay, well, all of us were short. We were all like the same height as his friend. So it's like, your friend can't see, but that don't mean she get to be pushed to the, like, that don't mean she gets to be at the front. She should have been lining up with the people who were here at 7 a.m. if she wanted to be in the front, or been like lucky enough like us, I guess, in our situation. But either way, like, he was just like this tall dude, and I guess he was gonna try to stand there, and so we weren't letting him go by, and the people that were right behind us were like no to him too. So then he just stood there, and then they all left. I don't know wherever they went. But then later on during the actual show, after the girl who was like trying to push me, after she moved more in the audience, these girls come up, and I know at least one of them was with that guy. And so they tried to come up, and they're like, yeah, we were in the back, and we pushed our way all the way to the front or whatever. And so they were like into it, but they weren't really bothering me as much. It was just like kind of like they were like gently trying to push, I guess, but it wasn't as bad as the girl who was there before. So whatever. The one thing I didn't like about the show is that, I mean, it's general admission, so if you're short, it's going to be harder for you to see, and I am short. I'm like barely 5 feet tall, so it was harder for me to see. So a lot of the stuff I ended up having to watch through people's phones as they were holding their phone up and recording. I ended up watching through their phone because I just couldn't see. But like from what I could see, it was good. And then other than like those situations, like the pushing and shoving in our corner was fine. Like there was hardly any. But then like at the end of the show, like they were like, let's take a picture together. And when they did that, all these girls decided to push from our right. All these girls decided to push from our right, and it's like, sweetie, you're not even in the first few rows. Like, they're not gonna be able to see you in the picture. I mean, I get wanting to try to be in the picture, but like the pushing and shoving, like one girl literally had her elbow in my face and stuff like that, and I'm like trying to hold up a peace sign or whatever, and I'm like, girl, like they're not gonna be able to see this. Even if they get your hand, it's your hand. You know what I'm saying?
It's gonna be a freaking fingernail.
So it was like so unnecessary, and they literally came out of nowhere just pushing. So that was annoying, but it was like whatever. When it came time for high touch, so high touch was after the show, and they were like security or whoever. They were not. I don't know if they were like clear, because it would be like with like they were communicating each other that well, because like it was like one guy who was telling everybody to go back, or whatever. But then as people start going back, there's another one of their workers there who is like telling us, no, y'all need to stop here, y'all need to stop here, y'all need to stop here. And it's like, well, he told us to go back, and you're telling us to stop here. And so I don't think that they had communicated with each other enough. So we ended up like moving left, and then they like set up this like wall, this sheet or whatever, and Tumoro우바이투게더 ended up standing on that side of the sheet, so you couldn't see them because everybody was behind them, so you couldn't see them until it was actually time for you to line up.
So you couldn't get pictures.
Yeah, exactly. So you couldn't take pictures of them while they were doing high touch with other people or nothing like that. And so we were like probably in the first 20 people. There was a lot of people. I think there was like probably over 300 people who had high touch.
Went like in a blink of an eye.
Yeah, I was gonna say that next, but it was like probably over 300 people, and we were like probably within like the first 20. We just happened to end up in the spot where the line started, or whatever, as they were telling us to go left. And so at like you go down these stairs, and as you go down the stairs, like you have to walk a little bit, and then you're right by the right by where they are. And then it literally happens like I believe this is our first high touch or whatever, and it's literally just a high five, which we already knew, but it was like literally like that. Like,
but
I made sure to make eye contact with all of them, but at the same time, it's like you can't even. I don't hardly remember anything because it was just like that.
Some people.
Wait, I was gonna get to that, but earlier. I mean, we knew it was going to be quick because it's a high five. You know, high fives don't last long. But it was quicker than we thought. But there was, like, one girl who earlier we heard her talking or whatever. And she was, like, so excited for high touch. Which, I mean, obviously, who wouldn't be excited for it? But then she was like, yeah, I prepared questions for every single member. And I'm going to ask all of them this during high touch. I'm going to ask Kai, does he know how to speak Portuguese and stuff like that? And we were like, girl, it's high touch, it's not handshake, you know, it's not a fan signing or whatever, it's literally just touching their hand and walking. And it literally was like a second per member, if that. Like, it's so quick. And like I said, I hardly even remember anything from him. Then after that, they just like basically are like, yep, all right, you have to go. Like, after you do it, it's just like that or whatever, and it's done. I mean, like, it was a good show for what I remember. The other thing, though, is that it was really, really short. I mean, it's a showcase. They only have, like, 5-6 songs. And so I wasn't expecting it to be long. And they played Jenga, which was cute. But it was just, like, I don't know. It was a good show, though. They were good. One thing, though, that they are tiny. They're very tiny. They're, like, so skinny. And their, like, hair makes their heads look bigger or whatever like that, but they were adorable. And yeah, it was good though. Other than that, I would definitely go see them again, but I just don't know if I would want general admission. If it was gonna be, I mean, with general admission, you kind of expect, you know what to expect, because I've done general admission before. You know there's gonna be pushing and shoving, so that didn't bother me. It's just like the whole jumping on people, like getting attitude with people, stuff like that or whatever, because you can't get your way or because they won't let you push them, you know, stuff like that. But other than that, like, the show is good, and I will see them again when they have more songs or whatever. But yeah, other than that, I don't have anything else to say. It was good though. Hey guys, so I'm like basically in the middle of editing my video, and there was one thing I forgot to mention when I was recording before that happened at the Tumoro우바이투게더 concert, but I wanted to mention it now because I wanted to include it in because it's like something, I guess, that I've never seen before. So like in the middle of the concert, there. So from the beginning, there was a security guard who had been like, like there's the barricade, and on the other side of the barricade there was like this one specific guy who had been there before the show even started. Well, I don't know if it was about halfway through the show, but at some point during the middle of the show, he moves from there, and all of a sudden, I didn't notice him move because you're focusing on the stage, but next thing I know, I hear in my ear, "Excuse me, excuse me, excuse me," and I look, and it's him, and he walks past me and my friend and everybody like that was in our corner, and he goes in the middle, and then maybe about a minute later, he comes out with this girl, and she's like, so like about a minute later, maybe 30 seconds, not even a minute, he comes out with this girl who's like kind of throwing a fit, not like really throwing a fit, but you could tell like she's upset, and like the movements in her face or whatever like that. Sorry. And so we're like, what's going on? Like, why is she getting kicked out? He's like ushering her out. And we're like, why is she getting kicked out? Well, I guess it turns out later, like on the Facebook group for the concert, someone said that she was a fan site. And so she had snuck in like a big, like professional DSLR camera and was like basically taking pictures. So that's why she got kicked out. And that was my first time seeing a fan site in person, because usually like you'll hear about them, like especially like in the K-pop industry, you'll hear about them, and about how like certain like idols don't like fan sites, or it's just like they're not comfortable, and it like to see it. So I've seen like other pictures or whatever. You'll see like the pictures that the fan sites do, and they always look so great, or they're like the pictures that they take of the idols, and they always look good and clear. And I've seen like videos of people like catching like fan sites, like recording a fan site as they're taking the pictures. Like, hey, there's a fan site at this concert or whatever. But that was my first time seeing it in person, so it was just so, I guess, interesting to see it. I mean, it sucks for her too, but I mean, to be honest, unless she was in the balcony, to me, there was no real way that she would have been able to hide that. Because yes, there was a lot of people in there, but like the security, she was in the middle and more towards the front of the like the general admission audience. So security is right here in the front. The venue is small. I think it only holds like 1,000 people in it tops, and that's including balcony. And so there was like kind of no way that you weren't gonna get noticed if you were gonna be right there. At least in balcony, people are probably paying less attention to them. Like security might be, because they're not the ones who are like likely to jump over the barricade to try to get on stage or whatever like that. So I mean, it sucks for her, but it is what it is. It was just interesting. I feel like I should mention that part.